Okay, let's talk about how we use Nearpod in the preview pane. That means we have a free account. We aren't putting it into our lesson library, and we're going to use Zoom to share the screen with our student. So let's take this example. We're going to search for a lesson. We have lessons, videos, activities. We're going to search for a lesson. We're going to search for a subject, and let's do something like, let's do English language arts, and we're going to do this kindergarten. And I'm actually going to do some lessons that I really like, which are, oops, my favorite. And then you can see that these are my favorite toy, fruit, park, animal, character, store, sport, and place. And these are really great because they help students build vocabulary and talk about descriptions and use the verbs of have and has and is and are. So let's take a look at my favorite animal, and we're going to keep this in a preview pane. So it's going to look like this. And so let's take this, put it in full screen mode. Alt Tab is going to get you to see all of the things that are open on your computer. Do not be like me and open so many things. It's just because I teach so much and I do so many different things. But let's open up Zoom and start a meeting, okay? So we're going to start the meeting, invite the student to the meeting as you normally would. You're not going to see my video in there because I'm down here in the corner. But then another tip that you can learn really, really well from, and this will be specifically useful, so I'll introduce it in the next video when you use it from the library, is right click on this and then keep Zoom on top. So that way, when I click here, I don't lose my Zoom screen. I'm still here. I can still go to the screen that I want. I can still Alt Tab out and, go back to the website or whatever it is that we want to do. We're going to be able to do that Alt Tabbing and keeping Zoom up at the top. So we're going to share screen, and make sure you share with sound because the videos will not have sound unless you share with sound. And then click your Nearpod window and share, and then usually what will happen is the student and you will pop up in the corner of your window. Now, because there's no students and because my video is off, I will not pop up on here, but normally you would, and so you'd be able to talk with the student, interact with the student. And then as you click, the student is going to see everything that you do. So this is more of a way of guiding your student. Now, we're going to talk about you will have to adapt some things. So, for example, in ESL, we're probably not going to use the word slender. You could, depends on your student's level. So you're always going to want to take a quick look at the lessons, or if you're winging it like I always do, I might just, explain slender, but, gloss over that and continue on with these ones, which are going to be more on par and on level with this level of English that we're going to be looking at. So those are Zoom tools that I'm using there. You can also, as the teacher, use the tools here and draw directly on the slides, and then those will erase as you go, or you can click the undo button, and they have a text box and everything. So there's some useful tools here. These are going to be pop-out windows. And so I normally like to try to use vocabulary. You can either use the vocabulary first with speaking activities and reinforce it with the reading, or if your student is weaker and still really needs that text support, begin with the reading and then look at the picture after that. Another feature that you're going to need to know is this right here is a button that makes the screen go up, right? So if you click that, instructions, that'll pop it up. And on some of them, you're going to need to know that, and you'll need to walk your student through that because it will cover some of the activity that they're trying to do. Okay, so this is a speaking reading activity. Okay, we can continue. I don't spend a lot of time, especially for ESL, on any of these introductory slides. In this lesson you will. You can if you would like to. It's really up to you and your teaching style. But then we talk about spots, and what it is. So we're looking at vocabulary, we're saying vocabulary, and we're applying vocabulary, all speaking and reading. And if you want, the student can write on this by using, now you won't see it here because I don't have a student in the class, but you would click more and they have the ability to annotate. Now, if you have a student who is younger, maybe is scribbling all over the screen and you want to stop them, that's where you would click this disable annotation for others that I have highlighted. But here would also be, like, if there was a student, you could, walk them through how to find annotation on theirs. It's going to be here and their more button. It's not here like this. And also every device is different, so sometimes it's a challenge to get them to, and you'll have to do the writing yourself, which you can do. I'm actually more fluent with the Zoom tools than I am with the tools on here, just because I use them all the time. So, if the student says it, we might add it on here. And then something you could keep in mind that I also like to do is draw a box and then have them go from memory. What is it? It is an eagle. It has big wings, or it has, whatever it says. I think it says strong wings. I don't know what it it has wings, or it's covered, right? It has big wings, okay? So the student, you could cover that up and have them go from memory. So first they learn the vocabulary, then they learn to read it, then they learn to speak it without any help. So that's scaffolding them through that lesson. So as you can see, it could take a while to go through this one slide. And I'll try to do this whole lesson and give you tips on how I do this. But this is not a collaborative lesson. This is the same thing, just different animals and vocabulary. It's not a collaborative lesson is the fact of your student is limited to what they can do on the screen. So you're going to do a lot more talking them through things on here and making them speak. Again, same thing. So this is really a good amount of practice for them to be learning. And you may go over this a few times before moving on. As you can see, this one has 23 slides. So I actually usually will do 2 or 3 25-minute lessons or more out of this, depending on the student's ability. All right, so let's practice some grammar with a drag and drop. I think this is a drag and drop. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not. This is a matching. So this helps them place that adjective in their sentence, right? So I would take my tools and I would actually be like, they're on white. It has a long neck, and show them how to do that for the first one. And then through my experience, they've been able to go right through these without a problem. But it's good. Reading, speaking. Again, they're reading and speaking, and everything that you tell them is listening. So they're getting all 3 of those in one. And then if they do any writing, then they're doing that. An easy way for them to write might also be in the chat box. So keep that in mind. And the chat box on Zoom, they can write in that very easily, probably more so than popping up a text box or using annotation. Also, Chromebooks are limited on Zoom. You cannot remote share with them, and you cannot, they oftentimes don't have annotation tools either. So keep that in mind. If it seems like your student has no idea what you're talking about, it might be that they're on a Zoom, on a Chromebook. All right, so here we go. Next is going to be write sentences include the adjective. Actually, this is the same thing as before, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So they're going to put those into the right places using they have. So they're using that vocabulary. And then here they have to decide which one is correct. So this is a great lesson on using the to be verb or the have has. I find that they struggle with this a lot. And there's usually about at least 2 of every activity, sometimes more, like with those animals in the beginning. And then this is the writing section. So if they, had the ability, they would just write these out, I often do this as a speaking activity. Read this and remember those sentences that we already did, right? This one now they are forming their own, and they're working on using that is or has. So is, are, or has, have, right? And so we look at this and we say a dolphin is my favorite animal. A dolphin is beautiful, and you're guiding them to make those selections without having that sentence right in front of them. And then you can ask them, well, what animal do you want to do next? Cover up the dolphin and do a different animal. And you can do different colors and things like that. You may not want to go too far into doing that, because I believe the next slide on here is actually, and I don't do anything with this. This is if they were on the screen, they would be able to write in here, but we just do speaking through this. And then the next screen, I do believe it is, yeah, my favorite animal. So they can choose what their favorite animal is and then replicate those sentences that we were working on in the last one. Or just use it from here and kind of use this as a review, where we say something like, the dolphin has, what does the dolphin have? And guide them to say, oh, the dolphin has fins, and the dolphin is, and they might come up with something else for you, big. It doesn't necessarily have to match the picture. That one just happens to match the picture, right? A zebra has stripes, and the zebra, I don't know, the zebra is big too, right? The eagle has wings, and the eagle is, I don't know, it's not even on here, but you get the idea. You guide them through these speaking activities as a review of everything that you've already done throughout this lesson. This one is going to be another one of the same thing. So you could actually skip that because it's the same, right? Maybe I have not reached this point in this level. But now we're getting to the very end. And what it usually asks at the end is, how do you feel about, how do you feel about being able to talk about your favorite animal? And, they may choose that. You may choose to skip that too, because it's a little bit harder for the ESL students to understand. But there is an entire lesson as quick as I could give it to you. And this one actually doesn't have games in it. And there are some that, instead of having those pop out pictures where they're going to, you can have them speak through them, there's some review games. There's matching activities for vocabulary, where you're matching vocabulary to definitions. There's a game called Time to Climb, and the kids really like that. So there's all kinds of great stuff. That is using it in the preview screen with Zoom. So it's quite possible to do it without adding it to your library or having a paid subscription or anything at all. You just use it right from the library. So that's it for this video. We're going to wrap it up, and video 3 is going to be about using it from the library and how you can assign some homework. So I'll see you over there.